Anxiety feels like you're stuck on a roller coaster that you can't get off. Feels like you are drowning in a sea of thoughts and emotions. Feels like your mind is racing at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Feels like you're on the edge of a cliff and one wrong step could send you tumbling down. All of these are reported analogies for how anxiety attacks feel like. I sat down with two brothers who have opened up about their experiences with anxiety and came out with a completely different perspective on how to view this tribulation.
You know, one of the feelings that I've had is sort of like an out-of-body experience, and anyone that's had anxiety will relate to this.
100%.
Where you feel that you've stepped out of your body. How crazy does that sound?
And you're watching yourself at that moment.
SubhanAllah, you know, it sounds crazy, but it's a feeling that you genuinely feel. And automatically, you know, when you get this out-of-body experience, you think of death. And it scares you. And your heart races now even more. And then you start to think, am I having a heart attack? Is this anxiety? Or is this a heart attack? And so alhamdulillah, through the help, the professional help, I've been able to equip myself with coping mechanisms. One of those being that the window of anxiety or panic is 10 minutes. So I always know that there's a period where the anxiety is going to peak and then it's just going to settle down. Bring the relaxed breathing into it. 5 seconds in, 5 second hold, 5 second out. A lot of the time sort of just really clenching your fists and letting go. Just trying to distract your mind for that period of 10 minutes, doing what you can to try and relax yourself down. And then you'll find that if it is anxiety, it goes away.
If you're watching this video and you're going through any mental health illnesses, reach out to a trained professional at Invictus Solutions. www.invictussolutions.com.au.
You know, routine is very, very important, because someone who is not anxious and has no routine ends up becoming anxious. So someone with anxiety has to be on point with their routine, because that's very helpful in that journey, that recovery, you know.
Anyone who has anxiety knows that it's not something that goes away. It's with you all the time and you just have spikes, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, talk to me about that, because if it's something that's with you all the time, I mean, what's that like?
One thing I always like to say is that someone going through mental health, you know, really smiles like Joker. And if you understand that concept, Joker smiles through the madness that is hidden to everyone else. So you could see someone and say to them, how are you feeling? And they'll say, Alhamdulillah. And I'll say, that's great, but how are you truly feeling? Just to try and let them know that it's okay to speak up. It's okay, you know, to have these challenges.
These trials can be taxing and exhausting. However, they can also be a means to unity and brotherhood.
I remember I met Makuk about late 2019 or early 2020. And then about 2-3 months later, after knowing him, he came into my work. I was working at Maya at the time. And then he just looked me in the eye and said, I know you have anxiety. He diagnosed me, but I already knew what I had, and he already knew what I had. And then I felt like that opened the platform to something bigger that me and him could imagine. We became best friends, and then if we go back with a whole group, if we bring out the conversation, you know, he won't be afraid to speak about it. I won't be afraid to speak about it. And then as we're speaking about it, some other brother that you'd never think would have it would start mentioning that he's got anxiety. And then we became like a good tag team with each other. That we used to tell him, like, these blokes going through a lot, 1, 2, 3, support him, and he'll tell me the same thing, and it was vice versa.
So it seems to me that when the both of you open up about your own anxiety to help others, it's also a method to help yourself.
100%.
100%.
We're being selfish.
100%.
During hardships, negativity and discontentment are tempting vices one can resort to. But one can also find solace in the divine wisdom of Allah. For verily, all matters to the believers are good.
Alhamdulillah, you know, the fact that I can, go to work without anyone knowing that I struggle mentally. I can, be around my family, my friends. I can do my dawah. I can do things that I want to do without having to always speak about my anxiety is a blessing. There's a great struggle in my life, alhamdulillah, but it's silent. It's allowing me to connect to Allah Azza wa Jal on a different level than I was able to connect pre-anxiety. Because now that I'm in a constant state of, fatigue or struggle, I'm constantly trying to sort of live in routine and good habits. It's helping with the Islamic faith, helping to become a better practicing believer. So I think, don't try to wish the anxiety away. Accept the anxiety a part of your life and learn to, learn to have anxiety by your side, And if you could see the positives and the blessings through anxiety, inshallah, it actually becomes a strength. It becomes a tool that you can use for good.
In the moment of pain, when you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, remember that Allah promises in the Quran that with every hardship comes ease. Indeed, with every hardship comes ease.
The first two months of having anxiety was crying, hot flushes, scared, shaking and everything. Through speaking up to the boys and stuff that I knew personally, I joined the outreach program, which we went to homeless runs, we went to Bankstown, and we used to have barbecues and stuff there. Being around them brothers was a good thing, because after 2 to 3 weeks, I thought I could open up and speak to them about it and stuff, which was amazing. It allowed me to do much more good than it was. And then as I was doing good, I feel like it was purifying you and making people love you at the same time. But not being arrogant at all. You were enjoying the road that it was taking you past. Like, you're walking and there's a brother on the floor. You'd be like, I was on the floor too. Like, do you want to jump up with me? You jump in the car together, you keep driving. Then there's another brother. And then through the avenues, you meet so much new brothers and you're doing so much good at that moment that you feel like, if I never had this anxiety, would I be in this position I am today?
For Hass and Makuk, anxiety is a blessing in disguise. Hass is able to transform his life and help others thanks to his anxiety, while Makuk is grateful for the privacy in the test he endures. These brothers are examples of positivity in the eyes of negativity. These stories are proof that something as crippling as anxiety can be overcome through gratitude to Allah, through reliance on Allah, and through the blessing that is brotherhood.